This episode of the Citadel Cafe is brought to you by listeners like you. Visit patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe to find out how you can become a patron and help make this show possible. This is the Citadel Cafe, episode number 499, recorded Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. My name is Joel Duggan, and the Citadel Cafe is where my friends and I hang out to talk about the geeky stuff that we're into. The podcast is available on all of the major podcasting platforms, including YouTube. If you're enjoying the show, please consider subscribing wherever you're listening. Joining me, as usual, is my friend Steven. You can find him at Steven ESC on all of the social media that matters. Good evening, sir.
Good evening to you. How are you?
I'm tired.
Yeah, that's
so say we all.
Well said. Yes, exactly. Well
right.
done.
I mean, I'm not going to dwell on it because it's not, like a great way to start the podcast, but sleep has been tricky lately. I've been very busy during the day from work, but I've also been focusing on the gym a lot, which for those who don't know, it's a big chunk of my day because I currently walk to the gym as part of my workout. So it's a good 2.5 hours of like on my feet, pretty intense training. I don't lift for 2 hours. I lift for an hour, but then there's the commute back and forth and all that stuff. Anyway, I have been previously lax when I've had busy work days where it's like, well, it's kind of rainy. I'm not going to walk to the gym. Also, this time of year, the weather in Nova Scotia can be not so great. And now I'm just like, nope, screw it. Doesn't matter. If it's raining, I'm bussing. If it's nice enough, then I'm walking. I'm sad to have to say this, I currently have gloves and a toque in my bag because I've had to use them on the walk home in the dark at 7 o'clock because it's dark now at 7. And coming up over Penhorn, which won't mean anything to anybody that's not local, it's a big windy hill. And when you're walking home in the dark and it's starting to be like 12 degrees, 10 degrees above zero in Canada, if it's windy, it's not pleasant. There have been other days where it's been just lovely. Coming home at 6 o'clock when the sun is still up, it's like 18 degrees and I'm walking home in a t-shirt. Great. No complaints.
And the air is nice and crisp this time of year too. So if you're walking home and it's crisp 18 after a workout, that's amazing.
It is. It's lovely. Yeah. Like you can be warm in the sun, but have a nice cool inhale. Like it's nice that way. But yeah, I mean, and the good news is there's been progress at the gym. So that's fun. Going up in weights and all that is great. But I do find that one of the perils of recording evening podcasts is that between 8 and 10 p.m. is about when I lose my steam on days that I work out. So we'll see how this goes. Everything else that I've been doing lately, which actually is something I should bring up, is that I have been working mostly mornings. So I used to stream at 1 o'clock in the afternoon until about 3, and then I would be directly from there to the gym. But somewhere in the summertime, I decided to start streaming at 10 o'clock in the morning because it was a lot cooler in my apartment compared to the afternoon, which can get quite warm. And I can turn on the air conditioner, but it's not the best experience. It's a little noisy on stream, and it's a lot of power, and I don't need it. Like, it's not so uncomfortable that I can't work, but it's also not exactly comfortable either. But I started to really enjoy the morning streams, and I have now bumped it even earlier. It started at 9, which gets me up and at work a lot sooner. The streams have been a higher attendance. I've had a lot more people than usual, which is great. Yeah. I think it's just that difference when some people overseas are just not in bed yet. Like there's that time difference where I can catch some people even in Australia before it's after midnight. So that seems to be helping. And we've had more people chime in, which is good, and it's been fun. And I really quite like it because now, from 9 to noon, I can do a 3-hour stream, break for lunch at our normal lunchtime, and then either work a couple more hours if I have other things to do, or just go directly to the gym somewhere around 2, right? So it worked out great. And that's going to be handy in the coming months when it's going to be darker sooner, because then I'll at least be walking to the gym in the sunshine, which would be good. Or daylight. Sometimes it's not always sunny, but that's the plan. Anyway, so for folks that are keeping up, the streams are now at 9 a.m. I have changed my schedule on Twitch. The only thing that's staying the same is Saturday. That's still 1 p.m. because I don't want to get up on a Saturday morning to work. So 1 p.m. is generally the better way to do that. So, and speaking of streams, I finished up the Lego Transformers Soundwave set that I bought.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, I finished that up last week, or no, a week before. Easily one of the top builds that I've done in a while. I think it's second only to Prime, but some of the design elements of Soundwave win over Prime. He's got more ankle articulation, and he actually has knees, whereas Prime doesn't have knees. His lower legs twist at the knee, but they don't bend at the knee. So Soundwave can look really cool with some poses. It's really quite sharp. I love the fact that the cassettes go in his chest, and it's just a super, super cool set. It's also tall, like it's like a good 13 inches. It's a pretty cool set.
Yeah, I managed to pop in and see a couple of your streams of the Soundwave build. It's looking pretty cool. So I haven't seen the entire thing done yet, so I'll go back and check one of your vlogs to see how it came together at the end. But very, very cool. It's the Transformer ones are neat, but it's cool when you see one that almost transforms exactly the same way the actual toy did. I mean, I know it's not going to be exactly the same, but it was pretty cool. Love seeing the bits and pieces come together.
I can point you towards the last VOD and probably the last 10 minutes of that VOD, because not only did I transform Soundwave live on stream, but I also had the toy. I dug out the toy from my storage and
no way.
Yeah, brought the 80s toy out, which is considerably smaller. Like I knew it was smaller, but like it was a lot smaller than I remember. He's unfortunately broken. His chest plate isn't there. The cassette deck thing isn't there. But I transformed him. Forgot that the toy had yellow eyes. The cartoon has got red eyes, which is what I remember, but the toy had yellow eyes.
Interesting.
And the only thing that I'll say about the transformation, not to spoil it, was it's not exact compared to the toy. And there's a couple things about the back of Soundwave and the Lego that I really feel like they dropped the ball on. And it's not a deal breaker. It's still a very cool set, but they don't do very much with his hands. And I'm not sure how much you remember about the Transformers toys, but a lot of the toys, their hands would like suck up inside of their forearms. So they would
either popped off.
Yeah, they might pop off and be put somewhere else. Like Prime's like were stored in his chest, but essentially you could either pull a little lever or just press on them, and the hands would like suck up inside of the forearms, and then the forearms would be able to fold flat against whatever they were transforming into. Right. And so the Transformer toy does that, but the Lego Transformer does not. So that was one thing that was a little bit odd. So he looks great from the front, though. His legs do exactly what you want, and the legs were probably the coolest mechanism that I built in the whole thing. Not that it doesn't look great. His head looks cool, the body and the arms. The posability as a robot is incredible, and definitely outshines the slightly lack of detail in the transformation, but everything else is great. I've moved on to a smaller set, but one that is almost as cool, which is the Lego Game Boy. And it's only 400 some pieces. And I built about half of it on Friday. I'll be finishing it up this Friday coming. And what I didn't realize about it, and I should have clocked this going into it, because I've built the retro radio. And you had to do all the inside mechanics on the retro radio. Like there was the Technic stuff that was holding it together. But then there was like the actual mechanics of like dialing the radio, changing from AM to FM, where the phone would go as a Bluetooth speaker option. And in the Game Boy, as you're building it, you're actually building blocks that represent like a motherboard, transistors, the little gold contacts. It's not exact, because obviously Lego is much chunkier than a motherboard would be. But it's really cool. They've definitely taken the depth that they should have with the construction of it. And I have not yet got to the part where I'll be building the directional pad, the start and select button, and the AB buttons. I'm sure that those are going to have some very cool connections and some very cool construction underneath them. And they did the same thing even with the cartridges, the game cartridges. As you build them up out of several plates, the inside plates are like black and green and yellow, and you never see them because you cover them up with like the sticker that has like Mario World on it. But they use some Lego pieces where if you look inside of the cartridge, you can still see the gold contacts. Like it's very, very clever. So I'll be finishing that up this week. And that's kind of where I am with my nerdy stuff right now. I don't know what I'm doing after the Game Boy. We'll see. I don't, I mean, it's not, I have to maybe wait until Black Friday to see if there's another set that might go on sale or something like that. So I don't have anything on my list that is not far outside of my budget for Lego at the moment. So we'll have to see. And I need to try to think about something else to fill that gap. I don't want to just do another Minecraft stream. If I don't have a Lego set to build, I'd like to try to figure out something else to do there. So we'll have to see. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. What have you been up to that's been nerdy in the last month?
Well, actually, it's funny that you brought up Lego because I'd forgotten and wasn't even on my notes for the Tonight Show. But
right.
I actually had a build not too long ago because my birthday was back in September, and we had a postal strike. For those not from Canada, probably didn't know, but we had a postal strike a little while ago. And it delayed my birthday gift from my son. So it's the first year where they've had sort of disposable cash, and so they never bought me anything before. I never expected anything, but it was just not a thing. And then suddenly, it's actually kind of funny. Little side story, because I was at work, just about to go into a meeting, and I get this knock on the door downstairs. I'm like, oh, I don't have time for this, but I should go check to see who it is. Went downstairs. It's postal worker dropping off a package, and they said, I got a package here for my elder son. There's $25 charge on it still. Are you willing to pay that? So just 1 second. He's sleeping upstairs. I'll go ask him. Either way, all of this, and he said, yep, that's the one. I came back down and said, yep, we'll pay it. And he had just bought himself a Lego set. So I'm like, did you buy another one? He goes, yeah. I said, well, what is it? He said, I'll show everyone tonight. I said, fine. But what it ended up being was like my gift. I actually accepted my gift and paid the duty charge on my own gift.
Nice.
I mean, they paid me back, but it was just so funny.
Right.
Because I was like slightly perturbed just because I was in a rush to get ready for a meeting. You just bought Lego. What are you buying more Lego for? But it was actually very thoughtful,
right?
Because they had he remembered that we were talking about different Lego sets, and Lego recently released a new-ish Blacktron set.
Yeah, we talked about that on the show, I think.
Yeah, I believe. So I had mentioned when we were looking at it, I said, "Oh, that's one of my favorite sets I used to have when I was younger."
Mm-hmm.
And my older son goes, really? Which one? And so we looked through a bunch of the sets, and I said, that's the one right there. That's the one I used to have, 100%. And so that was a while ago, and he remembered. And so when my birthday came around, they tracked down the actual set. So it's a secondhand set. So I was putting together a Lego set that was almost 40 years old, and like I cried. I was so touched because It was such a unexpected thing, and it is. I know I had a bunch of Lego when I was younger, but it's the only Lego set like I can actually picture.
Mm.
So it's even like, yeah, and I can see it perfectly clear. So I was touched, and so I put that together last week, I believe. Yeah, last Thursday, and it's brought back a lot of memories. And I asked my sons if they wanted to build it with me, and they said no, we'll just sit here and watch. And so it was kind of ended up being a bit of a joint effort. So they were looking at the instructions with me. And so essentially they were gathering all the pieces and putting them into my hand as I was putting it together. So it ended up being a fairly quick build because I didn't have to search through the pieces or anything, but ended up being a nice little family experience as well. So, nice little nostalgia trip down memory lane. So huge thanks to my boys for that. It was a really nice idea.
It's funny because I would have been into Lego at the same time. I remember Blacktron, but I don't think I had any of them. If I did, I might have had a little one, but I remember something very similar, and I don't remember what it was called, but it would have been the white version. So maybe maybe the good guys to Blacktron. Whatever the other, because I remember I had one that had a lot of green and red pieces on it, and it had a big battery pack that made sounds and lit up, and the lights kind of made some of the Lego pieces glow a little bit, which I thought was really cool. But it was a ship. It wasn't like a vehicle. Like it didn't have wheels. It was a spaceship. And I remember that distinctly. But I don't know whether it was like the same line, the same time. Like it's hard to say, but like there's not that many years between us. There would have been completely different lines, I don't think. So,
No.
but yeah, this is really cool, and you can really see how the new Blacktron set that Lego has out is sort of pulling on those older nostalgia strings. It's a larger set, but it still looks very much the same.
Yeah, and there's a ship that went with this one as well. It's funny because some of the pieces on the ship look familiar, but I can't recall whether I had them or not. This is the only set that I can distinctly remember having, and so this like, I guess I'll call it the sister set to this, which was the ship, is what the new one is based on. So the new ship is definitely more sophisticated looking, and if you compare them, you can definitely see that it's a new build of the old set. But it's yeah, either way, it was a really nice surprise and a really fun build.
That's really thoughtful, and
yeah,
a cool thing to be able to share with them too, especially because that set for them would be so far removed from what their normal Lego experience is, right?
Yeah. And it was pretty funny. It's my older son remarked a couple times, he's like, wow, these pieces are over 40 years old. That's so cool. And the funny thing was they actually sounded old too. So the pieces are really snug, and they creaked and they squeaked when they put together, and I don't know if that's just because the plastic is aged, but I sort of remember pieces being pretty darn tight in the past as well. So I'm curious to know whether Lego has sort of nudged their tolerances a little bit, or just with today's technology, if they're able to be more consistent with them. But yeah, the pieces definitely had squeaky and creaky moments when they're being put together. It's pretty funny.
I don't know whether the design of Lego has changed in terms of, like you said, their tolerance and their scale, but I would imagine the plastic composition has changed.
Yeah.
Like
there are definitely some. Okay.
Like what's inside the plastic chemically is probably different now than it was 40 years ago. I would imagine.
I know they're looking to move to a more plant-based plastic eventually for everything. And I know they've done that in the botanical lines, but if you look at the bottoms of the pieces, I can't remember exactly what it is about them, but there are some bits of the underneath that look different. The old between the old pieces and the new pieces too. And I'd have to go back and check and compare, but yeah.
Moving on to what we have been watching, I am playing a little bit of catch up, and we won't spend a lot of time on this because we have already talked about it on the show. You went to go see How to Train Your Dragon, the 2025 live action in theater, right?
Indeed.
So it is now available on Prime Video. It's probably going to be available in other places, but that's the first place I saw it. And I was looking for a movie that wasn't something that I had already seen or something that wasn't too old. And I wanted something that was going to be a pretty easy watch. So I queued up How to Train Your Dragon, the live action version. And I will say that something that did unfortunately color my experience was a really disappointing audio mix. And I don't know whether you had this experience in theater or not, but at some points it was hard to hear the music, which is weird because that's such a key part of that movie.
Yeah, we actually listened to the soundtrack a number of times afterwards, and when the boys were younger, when younger when the first one came out, and we would listen to the opening theme song and a couple of the songs, as what we would as part of the bedtime playlist we had for them. So it's a big part of it for us. But I don't recall being disappointed by the sound at all in the movie, so it could be just a Prime thing, unfortunately. But
there was definitely some things that I clocked as like this is a platform experience problem, not a film problem, because I can't imagine some of these things. Because there was other parts where like explosions were also like really lackluster. Like there's a part where the queen dragon comes out of the volcano at the end of the film, which, I mean, spoilers. I mean, it's been out for how many years, and it's the same storyline. Yeah. But like it is lackluster on the evening that I watched it, in the mix that I was delivered. It was kind of like, that's the explosion it makes. It felt like gravel. Like there was really nothing to it. And at that point, the music was also something I could hear, but it was also not great. And so I was like, I don't know what was going on, but it wasn't a good experience that way. So that aside, I thought it was pretty good overall. It did feel a bit rushed, but I think that's just combination of going really closely shot to shot for the animation. In animated films, you can get away with quicker pacing, montages, stuff that kind of make time pass a lot easier than you can in real life. I don't know why we forgive that kind of storytelling in animation, but we do. And in real life, it just doesn't really necessarily hold up in that way. So it did feel a bit rushed for me. I do feel like some shots were a bit too green screeny or sound stagey. There's a couple of parts when they were shooting the crowd around the dragon arena where all the kids have to like prove themselves. And it really felt like this was like a bandstand with a blue screen, and the room was like 10 by 20. Like you did not feel like you were outside at all in some of the shots. But on the flip side, Toothless looked great and moved great, animated great, expressed himself great. I liked that they gave him more growls than they did gurgles, because I feel like the gurgles work if it's a cartoon dragon, but the growls made a lot more sense for something that was that large. He wouldn't be making weird purr kind of like chortles in the same way that the animated one would make, and I think that worked out much to his benefit, and even more so than watching the animated version. When the Vikings discover Hiccup and strap him to the ship and take him to find the nest, in that moment when they're putting the yoke around him and they're putting him on the boat, the look on his face in the live action version made me angry at the Vikings. Like I was just like, you leave Toothless alone. What are you doing? And it was like this. It's a different reaction because he looked so real. And even though he does still have those cartoony type eyes, but he acts enough like a puppy in this where I'm just kind of like, you leave my dragon alone. And so that again was, I think, a testament to not only the rendering and the CG, but also like the animation and how the animators that were acting for Toothless were making him feel in that moment was good. I did like Hiccup, and I'm blanking on the actor's name, but I did like Hiccup. Mason Thames and Nico Parker, who played Astrid, I liked her as well.
I thought they both nailed it as well.
Yeah, there's some dialogue for her that's a little over the top, but it's from the original, so like you can't knock it because like it really didn't deviate too far from the original there. It's just that it's weird seeing humans talk like that, so matter of fact or so black and white. It's a little bit easier for animated characters to speak like that. So in the live action, it was a little bit different, but I liked the key lines that Astrid says, like, this is for lying to me, and then boom, second hit, like, this is for everything else. And that's a theme. It's a thing that she kind of comes back to. And I liked that Parker delivered it like kind of like under her breath a little bit, like not directly looking at Hiccup, but like kind of looking off into space, and that's for everything else. Like what then assessing her environment and stuff. Like I thought that was pretty good. Stoic was good. I didn't really expect there to be much difference for Gerard Butler. I did, again, find a lot of his dialogue over the top, but then you can forgive that sometimes because then you get his visual acting, like his expressions and his eyes. And so it does work a little bit better there than in the animation. Not better than the animation, but like it certainly does the animation justice. Like there's a part where
Agreed.
Stoic rips on Hiccup and says something that he thinks he's going to regret, like "you're no longer my son" or something along those lines. And then he has a moment of pause as he storms out the door, and you can kind of see the regret on his face. And Butler did a good job with that. But overall, like I felt he was still kind of cartoony, but not in a way that broke the immersion for me. What did was Gobber. And I know you didn't like Gobber that much.
No.
And the whole time, I was just trying to remember which character he was supposed to be. Because Nick Frost did not do a great job. Half the time I couldn't understand him, which is saying something because Gobber in the original has got a really thick Scottish accent and you can understand him just fine. But really what was going on for me was how he looked and how he moved. They didn't do a great job with bringing that level of character to him. And I feel like Gobber in the cartoon had a lot more of a unique silhouette from like his head and his beard. and they just kind of phoned it in for Nick Frost. There really wasn't much going on there. But what really got me, and I'm curious about your thoughts on this, because I don't think you brought this up before. Gobber's got a missing leg and a missing arm. And his arm he replaces like with a hammer for blacksmithing or an axe when he goes to fight. And anytime that they showed this thing, it was way too short. All the attachments were way, way too short for them to be of any use. And I really feel like I'd have to go back and see the original. But I feel like in the animation, he's lost his hand below the elbow. Whereas in the live action, I don't think he could bend his elbow. I think they had like a straight arm. He looked so awkward moving his arm around like a stick. And the thing that I was thinking of was they put a giant battle axe kind of where his hand would be, and the top of the axe would be about where his hand was. But the problem is, if you're using an axe as a person, you're holding the axe. So instead of the axe being where an axe would be if he was holding it, the axe was where his forearm was, which is not going to give you the same leverage and looks really pokey and dumpy. Like he looked like a little person. If you weren't seeing him in scale, he looked like he was really short because his arm was half the length of what it should have been. Same thing with the hammer. Like it didn't look like he could use any of the attachments with any great effect. And I found that was really distracting for me. So again, like I didn't really enjoy Gobber.
I'll have to go back and check the original movie again. I agree that character was just poorly done in the movie. I mean, you're talking about his silhouette, and one of the things that I liked about Stoic in this is even though Gerard Butler is not nearly as wide as Stoic was portrayed in the animation, they gave him this sort of cape thing with shoulder pads that when he put it on, it looked like it made him 1.5 times wider than he actually was as a human. But Gobber's character occupies physically almost the same amount of space, like the similar mass in the animation to Stoic's characters. They're basically brothers or best friends from their entire lives that have similar physical presence. Stoic's wider in the shoulders and Stoic's wider in the chest or like in the stomach area, but the two of them are like two large beefy guys, you know what I mean? So just visually the portrayal of Stoic just felt diminutive on all fronts. Like the acting of Craig Ferguson in the animation animated version was larger than life, like you said, like super enthusiastic Scottish accent, and this was just toned down in almost every respect.
Yeah, and he was British. Like he didn't even try a Scottish accent as far as I can tell. Like I don't think he did much of a voice at all. I think he just kind of spoke as himself, which was Nick Frost. Like it didn't. Yeah, I'm not sure what I've seen Nick Frost in. I'm sure I have. He looks familiar, but he's not been any kind of leading role that I remember. So
I see him mostly in. I've seen him mostly in. Shaun
of the Dead? Is he
Shaun of the Dead?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's his buddy's name? He's basically in a bunch of movies with the same guy.
Oh, like
I forget. He's in the recent
Star Trek movies. Mission Impossible movies. Yeah, I'm trying to remember his name too. Wow, that's awful. Because I like him. He's really good.
And they're basically best friends in real life, and so they do a lot of those British films together. But
Simon Pegg.
Thank you. I don't know that, like, if I hadn't seen Stoic in the animated version, I don't know that it would have been a bad performance, but it just wasn't a standout performance. I wouldn't have cared for Gobber as a character as much. He's really endearing.
Yeah.
And takes on like a surrogate father and teacherly role in the animated one, but in this one just wasn't an inspiring character.
Yeah. Was the shaman lady in the live action film in the original? I don't remember her at all.
She was, but she was silent, and it was weird. In the movie, she just seemed to have almost no expression, almost just there. But even though she didn't speak in the animated one, she had she was sort of revered. She was the wise woman, and
Mm.
people looked to her. And I know they kind of tried to do that with the live action version, but it's probably my wife's biggest complaint about the whole thing. She was just, what was that? I think she said something like that after we watched it. Just nothing like the one from the animated series.
Yeah, there were also some points where they changed the music as well, which I know wasn't part of the mix that I was receiving. That was like a artistic choice. The music was different because I've seen the movie a number of times and I've listened to the soundtrack a number of times, and there was a couple of points where they changed the music, different pieces, which I don't think worked at all. I really don't know why they rocked the boat at all on that. If anything, I feel like they should have said like, okay, we're going shot for shot and we're not changing the music. And if we write anything new, it has to work exactly with the old stuff. And it didn't. Whatever they did that was new really stood out. It didn't work for me at all. It actually reminded me of the first time you watched the special edition Star Wars trilogy, having watched the original trilogy hundreds of times, on beta VHS as a kid growing up, and then seeing the new stuff in the new trilogies. Not the new trilogy, but like the new stuff in like the original trilogy that they added. And it just, it does not flow. Like it just kind of feels like and here's something new. And now back to the movie you like, it's like, what was that? Why was he walking on Jabba's tail? Like just stuff like that is just, it threw me right for a loop. But yeah, anyway, it's longer than I plan on talking about it. But yeah, it was okay. Like I wasn't angry that I watched it. I really did like the way that they handled everything. It was cool to see the love story between Astrid and Hiccup, between two real humans. Like I thought that they did that very well too. And I'm really curious to see what other things that Mason Thames is going to do. I really liked him as Hiccup.
Agreed. I thought he did a really good job live action. A couple of the lines fell flat, but yeah, he's quite good.
I would say that the lines fell flat because they were lines for a cartoon that were delivered by a human. I don't like, thanks for nothing, you useless reptile. I think that only works if you're going over the top with it, which he didn't do.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think he could have gotten away with it though. And it wouldn't have seen too much of the movie.
Yeah. I think the problem is that in order for Hiccup to work as a sympathetic character in live action, he has to be a little bit more subtle and nerdy as opposed to really weird. And I also feel like even though I don't know how old Hiccup is supposed to be in the animated movie, Hiccup in the live action feels older. Probably just because the actor is older. And if he was more silly, I don't know if that would have worked for me. Whereas Hiccup, the animated character, he could be silly because he was like, I don't know, 12 or 14 or something. I think they said 15 is how he's supposed to be. But there's something about the animation character that just can read younger and you can get away with silly, whereas I don't know if you could, unless the whole movie was silly, but that wasn't the case, right?
Fair enough.
If the whole movie was silly, we probably could have done it. Like if it was all Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, then maybe, but I don't know. I mean, there you go. There's the mashup movie of the year. Johnny Depp as Hiccup.
Ooh.
Right? Like Captain Jack Hiccup and the Black Toothless of the Seven Skies. Like that's, nice. Don't make that movie, please. Don't forget that I said that. God, don't give them ideas, Joel.
Interesting to hear your take on this because like I realize hearing your thoughts on this, that I probably went into this movie with some like rose-colored glasses on because, I mean, as I've mentioned on this show a good handful of times, like this is probably one of those movies out there that's among the dearest to my family because we saw the first one with our boys and they're so young, and it just was one of those things we grew up with through the 3 movies, but then all of the Netflix series we watched all of them. So we've seen all the stuff for this franchise. So it was we thought it landed, but it's interesting to hear you talk about it because you make some interesting points where it's like, oh, that's true, and it hurts a little, but you're right.
Yeah, I don't want to take away anybody's joy of watching the movie because it's like I'm not sitting here tearing it down and saying it like it's crap. Like I enjoyed it. I am sad I didn't go see it in theater. Like I really wish I had taken the time to go see it in theater because it was visually, it was really fun when he was flying around on Hiccup. On Toothless rather. That was wicked. Like really, really cool. The the live action helicopter shots and drone shots and everything that they did to get that to work was incredible.
Yeah, and that was really cool.
So what's been on your big or small screen?
Actually, I've been catching up on Severance on Apple TV. It's one of these shows that I started to watch back when it first came out. But I remember watching the first episode thinking, okay, this is a really interesting premise, and I, I didn't get too far into it, and I'm thinking, man, I really kind of hate this. which is really weird, but it's just, I mean, we've talked about it. You've seen some of it, and the first episode is just, it starts off slow. I don't know, it has like retro technology in it that you don't quite understand at first. So it felt like it was trying to do this, we're a cool hipster show that's going to be super ironic. And then I got to the point where there's this dinner scene with the main character, Mark. And everyone is what's the word?
Depreciating?
Aggrandizing? Or yeah, no, they're just so like talking about things like, a meal is not life. A meal is fuel, and everyone around is, oh, you're so right. That is so true. And it was just like so many yes people to just really, really obnoxious, arrogant way of people were delivering their, or just carrying on conversation. And I was not in the mood. I just thought, I cannot hack a whole season of this. But it was just setting up characters and basically the life that this Mark was dealing with. But I was talking to some folks at work, and it just came up in one of our meetings, and they said something about how, oh, have you seen season 2 yet? It's so good. No, I couldn't even just get into season 1. I said, well, you should, because it gets a lot better, and season 2 is really good by comparison. So, decided to give it a go again, and I realized I hadn't made it to the end of the first episode, because by the time you get to the end, it starts to get more intriguing. And then when episode 2 and 3 sort of reveal more, I found it was a lot more interesting at that point. But it's still slower than I would have liked it to have been at the beginning. But I felt that the season ended really strong. As soon as season 1 ended, we went, oh my goodness. Okay, we're so glad that season 2 was already out. So we're ready to just basically hop into it. So I was able to catch the first 20 minutes of the episode 1 of season 2 before we started recording this evening. So we're probably going to watch the rest of it after we're done. But it's slow burn. It's weird, but man, it got quite good, and I can't wait to watch more of it. So it's funny because I don't want to say too much. I mean, it's been out for a while, so I guess the premise of the show is people go through this procedure called severing or severance, where they have a surgical procedure where there's this device implanted in their head, and they basically suddenly have 2 versions of themselves. One outside of work, where they just go about their normal lives, and then when they get into work, they flip to this other version of themselves. Like it's them, but like a blank hard drive version of themselves, and they get all the information they need to do their work, but that's all they do. At the end of the day, when they leave, their brain immediately flips back to the other version of them. It's like, so they call them innies and outies. So the inside people are the innies, and then their regular lives are the outies. So I find the idea intriguing, and the main character, Mark, played by Adam Scott, he basically signed up for this because in the show you find out about this stuff right away, and it's been out since 2022, so I'm not really giving a lot away. But his wife died in a car accident, and he just basically couldn't go on with. He did the procedure because he was basically hoping that he'd be able to not have to think about his wife 8 hours a day. They don't explicitly say this, but it's basically implied that this is why he did it. But what happens is he goes to work feeling depressed, flips over to his other self, doesn't remember anything happening, and then leaves work and starts off right where he left off. So feeling miserable going in, he comes back feeling just as miserable. So he doesn't actually have the 8-hour break of a work day where you can get distracted with your coworkers and things like that and forget for a little while. His outside life is just constantly thinking about his dead wife. So it didn't pan out as expected for him. And there's just more and more that happens inside this company called Lumen that sort of creates unrest for the characters, and eventually everything starts to fall apart, but it's pretty good.
I'm about halfway through episode 5, I want to say, in season 1. And I unfortunately have been at that point since I started watching whenever I first mentioned it to you, which is probably well over a year or two ago, if not more.
Yeah.
Because it was recommended by someone to me, and they said it was hilarious. And I was like, oh, okay. And then they explained the premise. I was like, and this was like over a text message. So, well, and they were a little bit odd. So I thought, okay, well, maybe the dark comedy. Like I was kind of going and expecting a dark comedy. And I watched the first 2 episodes like, where's the funny? There's nothing funny about this. Like you said, like the guy just goes to work depressed and comes back depressed. And it's like, there's nothing good about this. This is lonely and sad. Like it's not, and because it's a slow burn, it doesn't really grab you right away. So you're like, do I want to watch another episode of Lonely and Sad? Are they going to make any changes? It's like, oh, now we've got Christopher Walken and Turturro, I want to say. Is he still in it? Or he was in it? I'm looking at the wrong IMDb page. Severance. John Turturro, I want to say. Yeah, John Turturro. Yep. With Christopher Walken. So it's like, oh, now it's sad and lonely and weird. And I'm just like, I'm out. I don't get it. I want to say something happened at the end of episode 4 that started to reveal, like you said, a little bit more about like the higher ups at the company and how they were trying to hide and or control the people that were working there. And then I was like, okay, this is more X-Files. Like, what weirdness is going on? What's the mystery? And I was like, now I became a little bit more interested. But unfortunately, to get to the mystery and find out what's happening, I have to watch the overall package. Like, so if the mystery is the meat of the sandwich, the bread, which is thick, is the sad, lonely, weird. And I'm just like, I'm not always in the mood for this sad, lonely, weird. And it's constant. It's just melancholy the entire time. And I'm not even sure, like, even, I think it's because of the way that it works in terms of like how they wipe their memories. But like, even the innies, like there's no drama. Like even when something interesting happens, it's like 2 coworkers look at each other and go, huh, that was interesting. Yes, it was interesting. And then they go back to what they were doing. You're like, that's it? That's all the personality you got? Like it's a little dry in places. But it gets a lot of really good reviews. And there was, I won't again reveal it, but there was an incident that happened with Helly, played by Britt Lauer, in the first couple of episodes that really kind of illustrated to you that the inside person and the outside person are different people, and psychologically, and even though they occupy the same physical being, and the way that her outie treats her innie is, wow, there's a lot to unpack there. And that's when I was like, it's
a little dark.
Yeah, dark. And you're just like, but who thought this was a funny show? Like,
no
what
kidding.
the crap? Told me a lot about the person that recommended it to me.
I mean, it's categorized as conspiracy thriller, psychological drama. And so, I mean, those seem a little bit more on par. I mean, it's definitely the quirkier side of thriller type shows, but it's, it's anything but a comedy.
Yeah. So I may at some point go back to it, but right now I'm not in that space for it.
Yeah. Visually, I find it's what used to annoy me about it originally, I've actually found pretty cool, because it's inside the company Lumen. They're basically walk down these blank white hallways to get from the entrance, like the elevator that brings them down and flips their headspace, to where they work, which is just weirdly 4 cubicles or 4 desks that sort of face each other inside this giant white room. So the whiteness of everything felt too plain, too... I can't even explain it. It just felt like the first episode that made me think, oh, we're going to be like super hipster, ironic, cool. It just felt like a lot of that as well, but it's actually allowed them to do some very cool visuals where they'll have characters walk down the hallway, and then the camera will follow them, and then as it might let everyone pass, and then as the camera pans to the left to follow them, because it's all white with no seams, it allowed the camera then to come down from the ceiling or whatever to then look down at them passing underneath. So it allows them to do some really cool editing. I mean, it's not like it's would you say earth-shattering or groundbreakingly new, but it's just because it's so seamless, it ends up being a couple of points where they seem to do these long shots, but they're able to edit it together in a really cool way to make it look like a long shot, but it's just a lot of clever swiping on a white background. So there's it's what we've been watching, and it's sort of any moment we've got where we're all home, we eat dinner together. So we're watching a Severance. Are we watching a Severance? Yep. So it's it's caught our attention, and one thing I loved about it, because I don't want to spoil it for you if you go back to it, but sometimes at the end of shows when they're just building up to a cliffhanger, and it's like, oh, there's just going to be this thing, and they could actually, something could come to light if only they could do the thing in time, and it's almost like they just cut the episode short before the thing happens, or they pull a rug out from underneath it so that what was going to happen doesn't happen. They actually allow something to take place at the very end that changes it. So the next season, it's not like a reset. It can't be a reset. It can't be, oh, back to square one, but we know more. It's enough changed that it's season 2 starts very different, which I was pretty impressed with.
Right on.
And I'm only 20 minutes into 20 minutes into season 2. So I don't know how it's going to go, but I've heard great things, and so far so good.
How many seasons are there so far?
Just 2. Just season 2 just ended. So this is why people at work were talking about it, because it's pretty fresh.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Something that I forget, and it's easy to, after just talking about How to Train Your Dragon and the role that film and series has had in your family's life and the upbringing for your boys, is that, I mean, obviously I know this, that your boys are adults, but if you had said to me, hey, I'm watching Severance, I would not have immediately thought, oh, are you watching that as a family? Would not have been the first question out of my. Yeah, I mean, you and Tam, sure, I could see that. Some late night viewing, just date night, whatever. But I was not thinking like the 4 of you sitting down and watching Severance. Like, wow, that's not. But again, like I forget that obviously they're adults. But it's not something that I think of, and I think it's because most of our friends, a lot of the kids are still younger, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But they're all getting up there now, actually. But still, like for the last few years, most of them have been like not even in high school or just in high school. And so like I would not have clocked Severance as like family viewing,
We started watching Squid Games together a little while ago, so that's
wow.
Another indication of how far we've come along.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Moving on into the Internet Minute, the Citadel Cafe is 100% listener supported. If you're getting some value out of the show, please consider putting a little bit of value back in. You can become a member at patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe. Joining at any level will get you an invite to the member-only Discord server that is shared with my personal Discord, and access to the Barista Cut bonus audio sessions, which is the extended version of the podcast whenever we have a chance to record those. The special thanks this week go out to Bean Counter patrons EclipseRM and Smurf588. Thank you ever so much for your support on this episode. Patron count is at a total of 18, which is steady on from the last time we recorded. Our goal each episode is to add 1 more patron. If you would like to be patron number 19, visit patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe. My pick this week is a video game that I have not yet played, but I've seen the trailer for, and I find it very interesting. It is called Dispatch. And I'll have a link to the official release trailer here. It's a superhero workplace comedy where choices matter. Manage a dysfunctional team of misfit heroes and strategize who's to send to emergencies around the city, all while balancing office politics, personal relationships, and your own quest to become a hero. It's described as a casual action-adventure comedic strategy game. It's animated, voice acted, definitely looks like it would be up my alley, although it may lean a little bit towards Invincible in terms of the humor and the potential sexual content. I don't know. I haven't really looked that far into the rating. But we'll have a link to the IMDb as well as the Steam page in the show notes at thecitadelcafe.com. It is getting great reviews from what I can tell, and it's $35 on Steam, which is currently 10% off. So it's not like it's a big ask, but it looks promising. It does have some really high production value, and I think the cast, some of whom are from Critical Role, others are from Breaking Bad, like Aaron Paul, Matthew Mercer, Vincent Tong. We've got Liv Hamilton, voice actor I recognize, Ashley Johnson. Very, very cool voice cast. And you will notice it from the trailer. The voice acting is heavily featured in the trailer, and it sounds fantastic. And it also looks really cool and unique, and probably like they're going to be making fun of a lot of superheroes and superhero villains, something that we enjoy here on the show. So it looks good, and I'm hopefully going to check it out.
I saw the trailer for that as well, and I was surprised it wasn't a show. It made me, and I was actually kind of disappointed that it wasn't a show because it had an interesting premise, and the quality of the artwork in it is so good. I thought that I genuinely thought it was going to be something I'd be able to watch on Netflix or something in the near future. But sadly, I should say sadly in that case, it's not the case. But I might have to check this out as well. My sons will likely pick it up and play it, so I might have to watch them play.
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing where you could, because I don't think so far there doesn't appear to be anything that I've seen that it has any kind of like Twitch game reaction. Like it's just multiple choice so far in the trailer that I've watched, where the story beats happen. You're given a choice as to address this person or address that person, or in a UI interface, you're sending certain heroes or villains out to do their thing, and you're just kind of clicking buttons and waiting for the results. There doesn't appear to be a lot of like timing or something where it would be like single player only. I feel like you could backseat game this, watch over someone's shoulder and get just as much enjoyment out of it, especially if there isn't like a timer. Like if you wanted to discuss, oh gee, what should we do next? Should we send this person or that person, and actually talk about it? Like I feel like that could be kind of fun.
I hadn't thought about that because, I mean, I don't know the game at all, but if it had some sort of strategic elements to it, it'd be kind of neat to be able to chat about what the outcomes could be if you chose option A, B, or C sort of thing. So that could make it really interesting.
And cool. EclipseRM in our chat is playing it and says that it does release episodically. Every Wednesday they drop 2 episodes. So you can't play it all at once. Do you pay for it once and then play it as it comes out? Because that again would be great, because then it doesn't, because really my issue would be playing this on stream and then having people spoil it. But if it's not over yet, then they can't spoil the ending. They could spoil the first episode or 2, but like that's not as big as spoiling like the whole thing, right? Pay once for the whole thing. Oh, Eclipse, thanks for the info. That's really cool. I'm much more interested in it now.
Yeah, no kidding. Slick.
So what's your pick this week, my friend?
My pick is a movie that's coming out. It was beginning of 2026 called All You Need Is Kill. And it's a gender-swapped anime of the or based on the manga by Hiroshi Sakurazuka. Apologies if I mispronounced that, but this is the manga that was the inspiration for the movie Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt, where the main character basically is fighting aliens, dies, and then wakes back up and restarts the day. And so I sort of knew, or I had heard that Edge of Tomorrow was based on something in the past, and I probably knew it was a manga, but then forgot about the manga. And either way, once I saw this, I went back and I decided to go online. I've got the what's it called, the Shonen Run manga app, and so I read through it. It's only 17 chapters, pretty quick read, and it seems like this is going to be just like a gender swap of what the manga was. And some people are not pleased with that, but I think it's not a bad idea because it seems to be so in Edge of Tomorrow and in the manga, you've got this female character who is the badass. She's the one who has this ability to loop, and she's gained strength, power, knowledge through having to repeat her day over and over and over again. And then the male character comes along and essentially becomes the hero of the show. It scoops that ability from her. So I always did feel like that was a little bit weird. So to have that gender swapped where she's going to be able to kind of scoop the power from him. I like to see that playing field leveled a little bit because it seems to be less these days, but traditionally you'd always have the man who's going to be the hero. And then, of course, in a Tom Cruise movie, you're not going to have Tom Cruise be anything but the man, literally and figuratively. And so I think, and the aliens in Edge of Tomorrow were among the coolest I've seen in a movie. I thought they just looked so fast and terrifying and destructive. And then in the manga, they actually looked kind of lame, I thought, by comparison. And then in the anime that's coming out in the trailer anyway, they look completely different again, which I think looks more interesting than the manga. So either way, curious to see how this plays out. It's being produced by G Kids, which has done a lot of other cool animations that we've seen. So yeah, curious to see how this will be.
I watched the trailer just before we started the show, and the story seems pretty familiar in terms of like time loops and stuff like that in sci-fi, but the animation style looks really different. It's obviously anime, but has a little maybe cyberpunk in there. Like it's got a little bit of an edge to it that I like, but it's also very well done. I don't know how I feel about the character models. Like the people look a little bit weird, but it's a stylized thing, and it's fine. Something you probably get used to over the course of the film. But the action is just really well done, and also it's not just all gray. Like there's a lot of color, and that to me I thought was also really interesting. Whereas so much sci-fi, not especially in anime, but like in everything, doesn't matter what it is. A lot of sci-fi is just like, oh, it's gray, future robots, and it's gray, future spaceships, and it's just everything's just gray all the time. And so this looks really colorful and cool. And I mean, even more so that the lead character is a redhead. So like you definitely have color on the screen most of the time, right?
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up this episode of the Citadel Cafe. You can get more information about the show and links to some of the things that Stephen and I talked about at thecitadelcafe.com. Music for the show was composed by Kevin MacLeod. You can email us at thecitadelcafe@gmail.com or find the show by name on social media. Subscribe for free on all of the major podcasting platforms. That includes YouTube. The RSS feed and show notes are available on our website, thecitadelcafe.com. Word of mouth is the easiest way to support the show. Just tell friends about the Citadel Cafe and where they can go to listen to it. My name is Joel Duggan. You can find everything that I'm doing online at joelduggan.com, including my other podcast, which is all about Minecraft, at thespawnchunks.com. We just recorded a new episode yesterday. There's lots of new news coming out about the latest Minecraft expansion, or the new drop that's coming later on this year. It's called Mounts of Mayhem, and they've just released new mobs this week. So there's lots to talk about every week on the Spawn Chunks. Follow me on social media at Joel Duggan and Joel Duggan on Twitch, where I mentioned earlier today that I stream at 9 o'clock in the morning now, Tuesday through Friday, and then Saturday is at 1 p.m. Right now, focusing a lot on Minecraft, but Lego is still happening on Fridays. Stephen, where can people find you online?
If anywhere, you can usually find me on Blue Sky at StephenESC or on Mastodon at StephenESC at mstdn.ca.
You've been listening to the Citadel Cafe, where we are fast, easy, and cheap, but you can only pick two.